My dying mother promised her guardian angel would protect me. Fumbling for my keys in the parking lot, and a quarter slipped through my fingers, clattering onto the dark, wet asphalt. It was late, raining. I looked for a minute, but it was gone, probably rolled under the car. I sighed, wrote it off, and drove home. When I got to my apartment and emptied my pockets onto the dresser, there it was, sitting right in the center of the pile of my keys and wallet. A single, dry, gleaming quarter. I stared at it. It was impossible. My pockets had been empty. But my grieving mind immediately supplied a dozen rational explanations. I must have had another one. I must have picked it up without realizing it. I dismissed it, but a tiny, cold seed of unease had been planted. A coin returned. A week later, the second mark. I was walking home from work, taking my usual route past an old, decommissioned church. As I passed its silent, stone bell tower, I heard it. A single, clear, resonant bong of a great bell, echoing through the quiet afternoon air. I looked up. The tower was still. The great bell was motionless. No birds flew out. No one else on the street seemed to have noticed. An auditory hallucination, I told myself. Stress and grief do strange things to your mind. A silent bell. The third mark came a few days after that. My work building is old, and the maintenance staff is constantly doing repairs. I was heading to the break room, but the hallway was blocked by a huge, wheeled cart full of tools and equipment, left there by a worker who was nowhere in sight. I sighed, annoyed, and turned to go the long way around. I got to the end of the hall, turned the corner, then realized I'd forgotten my wallet at my desk. I turned back. The hallway was empty. The massive cart was gone. The whole process had taken less than 30 seconds. There was no way anyone could have moved it that fast. It had just vanished. A path cleared. I wasn't just uneasy anymore. I was starting to get scared. These could not be just coincidences. They were too specific, too perfectly aligned with my mother's strange prophecy. I started to feel like I was a character in a story that someone else was writing. And I started to feel like I was being watched. It was a constant, low-grade, prickling sensation on the back of my neck. I'd be in my apartment, and I'd feel a sudden, intense pressure as if someone had just walked into the room. I'd spin around, my heart pounding, but there was never anyone there. I started seeing things too. Flickers of movement at the very edge of my vision. A shadow in a doorway that was a little too tall, a little too dark. When I'd turn to look, it would be gone. Mark number 4 happened a week later. I was clumsy with grief, not paying attention. I was walking